Welcome back, everybody, and on today's video I'm going to be going over 8 reasons that you might not want to move to Placerville, California. Now, if you've been watching the channel for any period of time, you'll know that I love Placerville. It's my home. I've been in and around this community for nearly 30 years now, and yes, it makes me feel very old to be able to say things like that out loud, but I am acutely aware of all the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to living in Placerville. And although I love Placerville and I think it represents some of the very best that Northern California living has to offer, every town has its downsides and the things that are hard about living there or don't quite work for everybody. And it's important for you to know what those are so you can make sure there's not a deal breaker on this list for your family. So by the end of this video, you should know if Placerville is right for your family or not. So let's get stuck right into it with reason number 1 you might not want to move to Placerville, and that is heat. That's right, heat. You wouldn't necessarily think so, being that Placerville is a little mountain town, and at just over 2,000 feet above sea level, you'd be forgiven for thinking it actually is probably kind of cool there in the summers. But really, it's not. It is hot, like triple digits a lot of the time in the summer. Hot. Although we are at over 2,000 feet above sea level, we are just above the Central Valley of California, which is a pretty hot part of the state. And we have our river canyons, which kind of act like little conduits or funnels, just drawing the hot air up. Remember, hot air rises. So it rises up out of Sacramento and the Sacramento Valley, up through our river canyons, and comes right here to Placerville. In fact, a lot of days in the summer, you will find it hotter in Placerville than it even is in Sacramento, especially later on in the evenings. Down in Sacramento, they get those delta breezes. Those are a real thing, and they really do cool it off in the evenings, and we don't get those up here. So Placerville is a hot place to live. Now, if you're coming from Phoenix, Arizona, it's not that kind of hot. It's not murderous surface of the sun hot, 115 degrees outside hot like Phoenix gets in the summer. But like I said, you will see triple digits, 100, 101, on the worst days, 104, 105 in the summer. So it is a hot place to live. It's something you need to know. If you don't like hot summers, then Placerville really is not going to be the place for your family. Hey, if you could do me a quick favor, if you're getting anything at all out of this video, hit the like button, click subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss another video with crucial information to help you with your relocation to Dorado County. Now, back to the 8 reasons you might not want to move to Placerville, California. All right, reason number 2 you might not want to move to Placerville is stoplights in the middle of the highway. That's right, when you're driving from Sacramento to South Lake Tahoe, when you hit Placerville, there's not 1, not 2, but 3 stoplights smack dab in the middle of the freeway, jamming things up. And it can become a real issue around peak traffic time on, say, Friday nights when people are trying to get up to Tahoe to go skiing, on Sunday afternoons when they're trying to get home to the Bay Area after skiing, or during Apple Hill season when people are coming up to buy pumpkins or Christmas trees or that sort of thing. So it can make traffic in town. And for some people, they really hate this. And for others, they don't mind it at all. I'm in the camp that doesn't really mind it because I see the good reason for it. So you might be wondering, why on earth would a town choose, after all these years, to keep 3 stoplights in the middle of their highway instead of building overpasses or underpasses? And the reason is simple. If you look at when they built the freeway that bypassed Route 66, I forget which one that was, I think it was Interstate 10. When they bypassed Route 66, all of those little Route 66 historic towns started to dry up. All of the tourist dollars weren't coming through town anymore. People weren't getting off to get gas. People weren't getting off to have a burger on their way. They were on the interstate flying on by at 60 to 70 miles an hour. And a lot of those little towns suffered and dried up. So Placerville said, not for us, because we have a great Gold Rush era historic downtown here in Placerville. It's one of the most amazing things about living here. I won't go too deep into it in this video because this video is about reasons you might not want to move to Placerville, and downtown is definitely a reason you very much may want to move to Placerville. But our downtown is gorgeous. It is downtown, small town, quaint Americana at its best, and it is filled with great bars, restaurants, and shops. And those stoplights make people stop and look over and say, oh, maybe I want to fill the tank before I hit the windy section on Highway 50. Maybe I want to grab a burger and a beer before I do that. Oh, someone forgot their gloves or their beanie for the ski trip. Maybe we'll pop into Placerville and we'll buy those things before we get to Tahoe late tonight. And that brings in a lot of tourists and tourist money to keep our gorgeous little Gold Rush downtown chugging along. And I am all for it. You might not be, and that's okay. If stoplights in the middle of the freeway are going to drive you nuts and the associated traffic is going to be something that you really hate, then Placerville might not be the right place for your family. Right about now, you might be wondering who I am and why you should be listening to me about Placerville, real estate, or anything at all, really, and it's a fair call. So my name is Rich Curtis. I'm with eXp Realty, and I've been selling homes here in the Placerville area and all of El Dorado, Sacramento, and Placer counties for over 20 years now, in markets ranging from the Great Recession to the COVID market insanity and everything in between. My goal with this channel is to help you make the highest quality real estate decisions you can from the comfort of your couch. And the other reason, of course, that you should listen to me in this particular video is because I've lived in and around Placerville for just shy of 30 years now. So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to living in Placerville. So to that end, let's jump right back into our list of the 8 reasons you might not want to move to Placerville, California. Reason number 3 you might not want to move to Placerville is tourist traffic. Now, we live in a rural area here. We really don't have traffic as an everyday part of our lives, with some notable exceptions like the tourist traffic. So Friday nights during the ski season, everybody pours out of the Bay Area and comes through town on their way to Tahoe to go skiing. So that jams us up a little bit, especially with the aforementioned 3 stoplights in the middle of the highway. Now, Sunday afternoon, everybody's coming down off the mountain trying to get home to the Bay Area to get ready for work on Monday, and they hit those same 3 stoplights, and we have a bunch of traffic on those Sunday afternoons. And then in the fall, we have the Apple Hill Festival, which goes for quite some time and covers things like buying pumpkins for Halloween, chopping down your own Christmas tree for Christmas, going up and getting apple fritters and apple donuts and all this great stuff. And there's festivals and pony rides and petting zoos for the kids. It's amazing. But the word is out on Apple Hill. People really love this festival. They make it a part of their annual schedule, and people pour in from the Bay Area for that. So on the weekends in the fall, we have the Apple Hill traffic. So traffic here is really fall and winter specific. It is Apple Hill and ski season specific. Do people come up here to go whitewater rafting and hiking things in summer? Yes, but it just doesn't tend to produce that kind of traffic, with the exception of, say, holiday weekends. 4th of July, everybody pouring out of Tahoe, pouring into Tahoe. You'll get your tourist traffic there again. Now, when you live here, you learn when those times are, and you learn the sneaky 10 roads you connect on the sides of the highway to get around it all that the tourists don't know, so you can get where you need to go and get around all the traffic. And once you move here, you learn those very, very quickly. So for the most part, it really doesn't bother me. But if you don't like traffic, if you don't like tourist traffic, or if for some reason your life requires you to be out and about in the traffic during those specific times, then that might be a reason for your family to rethink whether Placerville is the right place for you. Reason number 4 you might want to reconsider moving to Placerville is the cost of homeowners insurance, specifically the fire portion of homeowners insurance, because of the threat of wildfire here. Now, this really isn't just Placerville specific. This is statewide in California. And of course, we've just come through the horrific fires in LA. So no place is really immune from this in terms of the high cost of fire insurance. But do be aware that this is a forested area. Most of this area is going to be in what they call a high fire severity zone. And as such, the cost of fire insurance is going to be significant. Now, if you're lucky enough to live within the sort of 5-mile stretch of downtown Placerville and you're close to a fire hydrant and the fire station, you might be able to get away with some lower end premiums in the $3,000 to $4,000 a year range. For most people, though, fire insurance is going to start at about $5,000 to $6,000 a year annual premiums. If you get further out of town, bigger home, newer home, more expensive home, that can easily get to $10,000 and above, depending on the square footage and the fit and finish of the home. So the cost of fire insurance is something to really consider when moving here. It's something we really can't do anything about. It's kind of a go or no go decision point. So if the high cost of fire insurance is going to be a deal breaker for you and your family, Placerville might not be right for you. You also have to consider that your fire insurance is usually, for most people, wrapped into their monthly mortgage payment via an impound account with their lender. If you want more information on all that, I've got a lot of videos on the channel that explain how to break down your full PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance mortgage payment. But suffice it to say that an increased cost of hazard insurance means an increased payment. So in today's environment with record high home prices and high interest rates, although they're not anywhere near record high interest rates. Of course, my parents had a 13% mortgage when they moved here in the mid to late 70s. So they're not record high interest rates, but they feel high, especially compared to our pandemic era rates. So high prices, higher interest rates, and then you slap the fire insurance on top of that. That can make your payments quite a bit more than you might have expected when moving to a rural place like Placerville. So you need to make sure you're using an accurate amount for fire insurance if you're playing around with online mortgage calculators. Now on the channel, I do have a podcast episode teaching you how to use an online mortgage calculator so you get accurate numbers. I'll link to that in the description. You can watch that one if you want to do that. But suffice it to say, fire insurance is something you should definitely consider before moving to Placerville. If by the end of this video you still aren't sure if Placerville is right for you, or you might be considering some of the other towns in the area and you just don't know where to look next, feel free to reach out to me via the contact information on your screen or in the description down below. Like I said earlier, I've been selling homes here for nearly 20 years. I've helped hundreds of families just like yours decide where to land in Dorado County, and I'm always happy to help. All right, now let's jump right back into our list of reasons you may not want to move to Placerville. Reason number 5 you may not want to move to Placerville is rural traffic. Okay, we just talked about the tourist traffic, but rural traffic is actually my favorite kind of traffic to talk about because it's ridiculous. It's hilarious. It is literally at times an actual goat rodeo. So rural traffic are things like pulling out onto a 1-lane in each direction country road behind a farmer with a load of hay on his pickup truck that he doesn't want to knock off, so he's going slow. Or behind someone with a horse trailer, or someone with a trailer with a load of cows on, or literally behind a farmer or local agricultural worker driving their tractor from one gate entrance to the other on the property at tractor speeds on the main road. Things like getting stuck behind a tourist in a Winnebago who doesn't know how to drive these windy, twisty country roads and is really gripped and scared, and so they're putt-putting their way along, and you can't swing your way past a Winnebago on a 1-lane in each direction road. Now, these types of rural traffic can add a lot of time to your day. In fact, I tell a story all the time on the channel of my daughter and I one day going down to go hiking in Coloma and Lotus, and one of the local farmers, a bunch of his goats got out. It was a literal goat rodeo all over Highway 49, and people had stopped to help him. So people had parked their vehicles to block traffic in either direction on Highway 49. And there was a bunch of locals running around trying to jump on and grab the goats and get them back into his field. My daughter and I parked. We helped out. We did our part. It was, like I say, a literal goat rodeo. I find that stuff hilarious and heartwarming and something I really, really love about living here. I will take a half an hour chasing goats around the highway any day over being stuck in Bay Bridge traffic or in South San Jose traffic, just going nowhere, tearing my hair out. I actually find this stuff really funny. But over the years, 20 years of selling houses here, I've had plenty of clients call me up and say, Rich, what the actual heck is going on around here? Every time I leave my house for something that takes a half an hour, it actually takes me 45 minutes to an hour to get there because something crazy is going on the road. And that is a potential here. You have to kind of plan for it in your day, and you have to have a bit of a sense of humor about it if you're going to move to a rural area. So, I'm giggling a bunch because I find this really entertaining, but for some people, it'll really, really bother them. So if that kind of thing is going to fry your noodle, getting stuck behind a guy putt-putting with a load of hay on, or somebody chasing their goats around the road, then Placerville area probably isn't the right place to relocate for your family. All right, reason number 6 you might not want to move to Placerville is the cost of water. City of Placerville water is expensive. Over a decade now, the state came in and said, hey, your water treatment facilities are subpar and you need to build a new one. So we built a new one. But what has happened out of that is that they have passed on the cost of that infrastructure to us, the water customers, via our bills. So they have been consistently raising rates forever now, it feels like. And not just on your water bill, they also established a sewer charge, and they don't have a meter on your sewer. So it doesn't matter if you have a full reclamation system and you're reusing your gray water, your sewer bill is just a percentage of your incoming water bill to your house. So you're charged for the water coming in, you're charged for the water going out, and it is quite expensive for my family of 4 who has let the lawn die due to California droughts. We spend, I think, $350 every 2 months on the water bill. That is very expensive and much more expensive than it was, when we moved our home to Placerville 16, 17 years ago. So the cost of water here is quite expensive, and it's something to know if you're relocating from an area with cheap water. Reason number 7 you might not want to move to Placerville goes hand in hand with reason number 6. Reason number 7 is the cost of electricity. We have PG&E as our power provider here in Placerville. Now, if you live in California, you know PG&E is the most expensive power in the state. It can really blow your hair back if you're moving up from Sacramento and used to SMUD prices. If you're moving from Southern California, used to Southern California Edison prices. If you're moving from Roseville, used to Roseville electric prices. The cost of PG&E is going to blow your hair back. For our SMUD customers, the cost of PG&E is nearly double the cost of electricity through SMUD, Sacramento Municipal Utility District. It's also nearly double the cost of electricity through Roseville Electric, which is pretty much on par with the SMUD prices. So no matter how you slice it, PG&E is some of the most expensive power in the state, and frankly, some of the least reliable power in the state with all of their power safety, public safety power shutdowns that they do. Although I will say, the last public safety power shutdown where they shut our power down for 3 days in Placerville happened in 2020. So it's been 5 years. So they have really started to get their act together in that regard. But if we do get a bunch of bad windstorms in the summertime and they think there's fire danger, they do shut the power down, which is relatively unheard of in Sacramento on SMUD or in Roseville on Roseville Electric. So if you're moving to Placerville and you're coming from a place where you have relatively cheap power and you've never been on PG&E before, the cost of power here might blow your hair back, and it's something to consider in your overall cost of living here in Placerville. Of course, I do have a video going over the full cost of living in Placerville for you that I can link in the description down below and at the end of the video, so you can watch that to get a sense of the total cost of living. But suffice it to say, your water and your power are probably going to be more expensive here than you think. All right, reason number 8 that you may not want to move to Placerville, and this one is my actual favorite reason. It's a small town, like a really small town. Now, this is something I love about this place. I love small towns. I'm not a fan of big crowds and lots of people. In fact, my wife gives me a hard time all the time about saying that Placerville is getting to be just about too big of a town for me these days, with a whopping, around 11,600 people in the 5 square miles of downtown Placerville, and I think 36,000 people in the full 95667 zip code. So we're not really exploding in the population department, but for me, I like small towns, so that's a lot of people. For you, there's some things about a small town you should know that you might not love. Everybody knows everybody here, and everywhere you go, there's somebody you know. So if you're an introvert, which I am kind of an introvert by nature, might not think that since I'm making videos on the internet, but I actually am. And I don't particularly love running around town and bumping into everybody I know and having to have a 15 to 20 minute conversation with each of them. I'd rather pull my baseball cap down, run into the grocery store, get what I need, get out, and get on with my day. That's not really possible here. If you go to the grocery store, you're running into somebody you know, and there's gonna be a conversation. You're gonna be chatting about the kids at soccer. You're gonna be talking about what's going on with the city council. You're gonna be talking about the traffic. You're gonna be talking about, last time you saw each other, or your multiple, friends in common, because we all know each other here. There's just no hiding in a small town, and there's no doing a quick errand in a small town. You're gonna run into people you know, you're gonna have a social interaction whether you like it or not. So for some of you who are wired like me, who wanna get in and out and treat your errands like an insurgency, get in, get it done, and get out as quickly as possible without being seen, this might not be the place for you. For those of you that love social interactions and you're the social butterfly, this might be the absolute best thing about moving to Placerville for you. For the people who like to be social, bopping around town and running into everybody you know and always having people to talk to is literally the best thing ever. So you'll have to decide if this one really is a negative or a positive for your family. But either way, if you don't want to live in a place that's a lot like the bar at Cheers where everybody knows your name, then Placerville is probably not for you. All right, that wraps up our discussion of 8 reasons you might not want to move to Placerville. And like I said, I love Placerville. It's my hometown, but I have to be realistic. These are some things that make it tough to live here. And if there's a deal breaker on this list for your family, I hope you found it and it helps you with your decision. Either way, pro or con, move to Placerville or don't, I hope the information in this video was very helpful to you and your family. Now, if you want to do a deeper dive, you can click this video right here for my pros and cons of living in Placerville. Or you can click this video right here about why I'll never leave Placerville, why I made it my home. Or you can click this video right here for the cost of living in Placerville. Either way, thanks for watching, thanks for making it to the end with me, and I'll see you on the next one.